Welcome to Politics Talk. We thank you for tuning us in today. We have a lot of great things to talk about. We're going to talk about trust is vital in every relationship. Trust is vital in every relationship. Again, we thank you for joining us. Our website is politicstalk.com. And you can reach me at my email, eric@politicstalk.com. So, and we're on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, where we'll have our Instagram question that we'll get to. Where you can go to Instagram and find our question, and we'll tell you what that is. Please click share, like. Please follow us on our YouTube channel, as well as commenting. Please send this out to your friends, family. Again, we attempt to laugh here. We attempt to learn. We attempt to learn how to have better and stronger communities, but also bringing awareness to how sports affects politics and how politics affects life, and that includes economics and social issues as well. So we thank you for tuning us in today. Let's get right to it. We have a lot to talk about. Very busy sports weekend this weekend. There's some NBA, there's some college football, some NFL football. There's a lot to get to, so let's get right to it. Let's start with the NBA. The Los Angeles Lakers, fresh off of their NBA Finals win with LeBron, AD, and crew. The Lakers are busy. They're not resting on their laurels. Of course, Anthony Davis is a free agent. He is not signed a new deal yet, but he's represented by Rich Paul, which is LeBron James's agent and what have you. So it's widely believed that AD will re-sign a new deal. But in the meantime, the Lakers have made some really good moves. They've added Montrezl Harrell, who comes right down the hall from Clipperland to the Lakers. Sixth Man of the Year award winner. They had Dennis Schroeder from the Oklahoma City Thunder, who's averaging about 18 points a game in his career, so he's younger. They had Wesley Matthews from Milwaukee. They had Marc Gasol from the 2018-19 Toronto Raptors with his experience, and then they also Markieff Morris, one of the Morris twins, is re-signing. Matter of fact, he put on social media and said he's re-signing. Let's run it back. And so let's talk about that for a minute. LeBron has been on some good teams. Of course, when he was in Miami, you had the Miami Heatles with Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and South Beach, and the crew there. And when he was in Cleveland, of course, he played with Kyrie Irving and brought a championship to the city of Cleveland. First championship since 1964 of any sport. He brought that sport brought the championship back to Northeast Ohio. And of course, last year he won championship with the Lakers. But this is likely the strongest and deepest roster they have that LeBron will ever be a part of. They get younger with Dennis Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell. Some of the the so-called quote-unquote troublemakers with Rondo and Dwight Howard have moved on. I think Dwight Howard is signed with Philadelphia and Rondo is signed in Atlanta. But the Lakers have moved on, and so they're starting their team. They're starting five. I mean, they're keeping Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I still think the Lakers should move on from Kyle Kuzma. He has been a disappointment. They may not be able to get an adequate trade for him, but nonetheless, he runs hot and cold. When he's right, he's a great asset. When he's not, he's ice cold. And so we will see what happens there. So that is our Twitter question for the day. Will the Lakers repeat as NBA champions? That's the Twitter. You go to Twitter at Spolitics Talk. That's SPOLITICS And the question is there. Please respond. Will the Lakers repeat as champions? I happen to believe they will, and I believe these moves they're making will allow LeBron to have at least 2 more good years, because Father Time is coming after LeBron, and Father Time is undefeated. So we will have to see what happens there. Should be a great season. We have some other the Clippers added Serge Ibaka. He comes over from Toronto Raptors. Of course, the Toronto Raptors, Fred VanVleet signed a near $90 million deal to stay in Toronto. Although Toronto will be playing their games this year, or they will start the season in Tampa Bay, as they are not allowing sporting events in Canada. And then of course we still have James Harden. Will he? He's made it known that he wants to go to Brooklyn. If I'm Brooklyn, I'm making every necessary move I need to make to sign James Harden to come to Brooklyn, even if that means giving up Kyrie Irving. So we will see what happens there. Of course, the NBA, the Pope. This is interesting. The Pope is hosting NBA players to talk about social justice issues. Of course, President-elect or presumptive President-elect Joe Biden is Catholic, devout Catholic, and so it's not a coincidence that the NBA players with the Joe Biden win, that the NBA players are meeting with the Pope, and it's likely that Joe Biden will get some spiritual guidance. So we will have to see what happens there. Let's talk some college football here. There were reports with the Clemson Florida State game. Clemson had traveled down to Florida State to play a noon kickoff game this past Saturday at Florida State in Tallahassee. And Clemson has a late positive COVID test the morning of the game, and so Florida State's administration was not comfortable with the game being played, and so so the game was suspended, wasn't played. Now, Dabo Swinney is saying that Florida State really didn't want to play this game. That's possible because Clemson is really good and Florida State is struggling. They've been struggling several years since they won the national championship several years ago with Jameis Winston as quarterback. But that still, to me, is the Dabo Swinney is maybe feeling himself a little bit. Yes, Clemson is good. They need to remember that butt whooping last year at the hands of LSU. Okay, they need to remember that. Okay, so Dabo Swinney is he's a really good coach, but let's face it, they play in the ACC, play in the SEC, play Georgia every year, play Auburn, play Alabama, play LSU, play Florida, play those teams year in and year out, and see if you're still what you are. Okay, so let's Dabo Swinney, you need to chill and recognize, okay, that you are. That you're good, but you also play a soft schedule. Okay, so you might want to check yourself with that. And some really good college football games this weekend, of course, in the Bedlam series, Oklahoma State at Oklahoma. They're more of the same. Oklahoma rolls over Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's offense looks anemic. In the Big Ten, you had Wisconsin being upset by Northwestern, a really good game. In Evanston, Illinois, and then of course you had Ohio State. You had Ohio State over Indiana. That game was in Columbus, and Ohio State gets out to a 35-7 lead, and their defense has more holes in it than a sponge. I don't know. Of course, Ohio State lost a lot in the draft last year, but their offense looks pathetic. So we're not sure what's happening, and I hope they get that cleaned up because the competition is going to get tougher. So we'll see what happens there. Michigan goes on the road in triple overtime. They get a win in Piscataway. New Jersey against Rutgers. Some other good games. USC, goes to Utah. Although it's Utah's first game, USC gets the big win to go to 3-0. So we'll see what happens with the Big 12. Oregon looks good. So we'll see what happens with the Pac-12 in terms of the college football playoff. The first rankings to determine the top four for the college football playoff comes out tomorrow night. So we will have to see who the top four are. So I'm going to give you, so what we're going to do for the rest of the year on our Monday show is I'm going to give you my top four, and then I'm going to give you two sleepers to keep an eye on. Okay? So starting with number 4, the aforementioned Clemson Tigers. I'm going to go with them. They will. The rest of their schedule is pretty light. They're likely to get Notre Dame again in the ACC championship in Charlotte. We'll see what happens there. Ohio State is number 3. Again, their defense concerns me. Although the offense, Justin Fields had a rough first half, but was able to settle down and get a rhythm. But Ohio State's likely going to have to face Wisconsin or a Northwestern team in the Big Ten championship, and then obviously the playoff. And then number 2, Notre Dame. They did not play this week. They get North Carolina at North Carolina this weekend. That'll be a good game. North Carolina's a pretty good team, and on the road, anything can happen. And then of course Alabama, who put up 60, over 60 on Kentucky. Alabama is the clear favorite this year to win it all. Now, a couple of sleepers that I have here it is interesting. I have Florida. Florida looks good. They're undefeated. They're likely going to get Alabama unless they slip up along the way in the SEC championship. Cincinnati looks good out of the American Athletic Conference. They go down to Florida and get a big win down there. So it looks, so those are my top 4 again. Clemson number 4, Ohio State number 3, Notre Dame number 2, and Alabama number 1. With my sleeper picks being Florida and Cincinnati. So we will see what happens there. In the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens lose to the Tennessee Titans 30-24. The Baltimore Ravens, they're off. Don't know what the Baltimore Ravens' offensive identity is. Lamar Jackson clearly is having problems throwing the ball. He never has been prolific at throwing the ball, but it seems like the book on Baltimore shut down the run and forced Lamar Jackson to beat you throwing the ball. And until the Ravens prove they can do that, then they will continue to struggle. They may not make the playoffs. The playoffs were to start today. The Baltimore Ravens are out of the playoffs. The Browns are being over the Ravens. Their defense looks soft. That's not a John Harbaugh coach team. John Harbaugh is hard. He's hard nosed. He's old school. He's tough football, and so it was surprising to see Tennessee. Now Derrick Henry is a horse and a stud and a freight train coming right at you, but it's like they just rolled over and they paved the way for Derrick Henry to the end zone. So, and we're not used to seeing that lack of toughness and grit from the Baltimore Ravens. So they get the Steelers. The Ravens get the Steelers Thursday night, Thanksgiving night. Now that game might be in question because the Baltimore Ravens have announced that their running backs J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram have both tested positive for COVID-19. So we will see what happens there. Hopefully there are no other positive tests on the Ravens, but that would be a good game. Hopefully that game will be played. Will that game be rescheduled? We'll have to wait and see. Another good game there are several good games in the NFL. The Chiefs and Raiders. My goodness, last night. I personally thought with the way the Raiders went into Arrowhead early in the year and handed Kansas City their only loss, and then they taunted them by driving the bus around the field in Kansas City after the Raiders won that game, that the Chiefs would go in and hang a large number on the Raiders. And not so. Now the Chiefs come out with the win, 35-31, but I have to tell you, the Raiders look really good. Derek Carr, the quarterback, is playing really good. The Raiders are physical, running the ball. They're not afraid of the Kansas City Chiefs. Now the Kansas City Chiefs are the prohibitive favorites to win it all. Although their defense is suspect, always has been, last year and this year. But the Kansas City Chiefs look far and away to be the best team. And I think the 3 best challengers, or strongest challengers, the 4th strongest challengers, to the Chiefs. In the AFC, I think it's Pittsburgh and the Raiders, and I think in the NFC, it's New Orleans and Tampa Bay. We'll see what happens there tonight. Of course, we have Monday Night Football with the Los Angeles Rams. That's the Los Angeles Rams at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Tampa Bay doesn't do very good at night under Tom Brady, but we'll see what happens. And that should be a good game with that Los Angeles Rams defense. Aaron Donald is just He's just from another planet. He tosses multiple offensive linemen aside like they're not even there. So we will say just a quick note. If the playoffs ended today, the Chiefs and Raiders will play again. They will play again because the Chiefs are currently the 2 seed and the Raiders are in the spot that they're in. They will play each other again. So that's interesting, because Pittsburgh is currently the number 1 seed with being undefeated 10-0. So we'll see what happens. Of course, the Cowboys they get their first win in a long time, beating Minnesota. The whole NFC East is a mess. All the teams have 3 wins. It's like nobody wants to win that division. I personally think that if you don't have a winning record to win a division, if you make the playoffs as a winner of a division, if the team you're playing has a winning record, you should have to go to them and play that team. That's just how I feel. We will see what happens there. Of course, this is Thanksgiving week, so I know with COVID and what have you in terms of people having celebrations, I know I'm going to be making a nice dinner, and I'm looking forward to spending some time with my daughters and what have you. But and I hopefully everyone's safe this holiday season. If you're traveling, they say you shouldn't be traveling, but if you are, please be safe and please be careful. Let's go to our sports highlight. Okay, let's go to our sports highlight. So remember, the subject of this show is called "Trust is Vital in Every Relationship." Trust is vital in every relationship. A few weeks ago, Drew Brees was injured in a sack where he had multiple cracked ribs and also a collapsed lung. And they were saying that he would be out a minimum of 3 weeks. He was put on IR, which means he has to miss at least 3 games. And in that game where he went down, Jameis Winston came in to replace Drew Brees to finish that game. So the speculation was with the game the Saints just played against the Atlanta Falcons in New Orleans, the speculation, me included, thought that Jameis Winston would get the starting nod at quarterback. Well, Sean Payton, the coach of the New Orleans Saints, decided, I want to start Taysom Hill, the Swiss Army knife quarterback that comes in from time to time to give the New Orleans Saints a shot in the arm. They can open up more of the playbook. Taysom Hill can run the ball, and Drew Brees' arm strength is not what it used to be. But Taysom Hill comes in and seems to be quite effective. So Sean Payton decides, okay, I'm going to start Taysom Hill in this game. Now, I was like, when I first heard it, I'm thinking, wow, that's odd, that's strange, what have you. I thought Jameis Winston, what have you. But this is when having the trust of your coach, trusting your coach to put your team in the best position to win, having that trust, because there were some players. It was reported that some players on the New Orleans Saints weren't happy with that decision. They wanted Jameis Winston, but they ultimately trusted Sean Payton to make the decision because he has led them, and he is, no matter who the quarterback has been, even when Drew Brees went down last year. Teddy Bridgewater, currently a quarterback of the Carolina Panthers, started 5 games for Drew Brees. He went down last year, went 5-0. And yesterday, Taysom Hill started, and New Orleans wins that game 35-31 over an Atlanta team, by the way, whose defense have been playing much better of late. Remember, we're talking about trust and how trust is important. Sean Payton has taken the time to get to know his personnel. He trusts his personnel. He had to trust Taysom Hill to go out and perform in yesterday's game. So when you have that trust in every aspect, in every relationship, whether it's in business, whether it's romantic, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's a coach of a team, having that trust that you know that the person that you have the trust in is going to execute their job well. That's important. So trust. So I commend Sean Payton for going against the grain. And we have to remember, Sean Payton isn't saying that Taysom Hill will be the quarterback of the future for the New Orleans Saints, but he doesn't need him to be, because it's reported that Drew Brees is likely to come back by the playoffs, and their next few games are cupcake games for New Orleans. So he only needs him to go win 3 or 4 games, and then Drew Brees will come back. Now I don't think the Saints will go. I don't think the Saints win it all this year, because in the NFC you have the Rams, you have Arizona, you have Seattle, you have Tampa Bay, you just have several teams Green Bay in the NFC. So we will see what happens. Just remember, we're talking about trust, how important trust is. So as we go to the intersection, remember our website is politicstalk.com. You can reach me at my email, eric@politicstalk.com. I'm on Twitter. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. So remember, please click share, like. Please follow us. Send us out to some of your friends and family. Come on, what do you have to lose? Send us out to your friends and family so they can listen, they can laugh, they can learn, and we can all get better, and we can all learn and grow and what have you. So, but we thank you for tuning us in today. And remember, our Twitter poll question is: will the Los Angeles Lakers win the championship in the 2020-2021 season? So please go to Twitter, @PoliticsTalk, and you chime in there, and we will reveal the results of that poll question on our Wednesday show. And remember, this week, because of Thanksgiving, there'll be no Thursday blog. So we'll have our show today, our Wednesday show. And then no blog this Thursday, but we will return Monday, November 30th. So let's go to the intersection. Again, we're talking about trust is vital in every relationship. In every relationship, trust takes a long time to build, but a moment to tear down. Have you ever trusted someone before? Trusted someone that you love? Trusted someone that you placed great hope in, that they would do right by you, that they would not disappoint you? Have you ever trusted someone and they let you down? I know I have, and that's not a good feeling. As COVID is ravaging our country, nearing 260,000 deaths, over 12 million infections. Now, some good news before we go forward. A third pharmaceutical firm, AstraZeneca, has released some of the findings from their COVID vaccine trial that it could be up to 70 to over 90% effective. So now that's 3 with Pfizer, and then there's another one, and then it escapes me at the moment. So good news is your help is on the way. But in the meantime, our government. We trust our government to keep us safe, not just against foreign countries and foreign adversaries, but we trust our government to keep us safe, even from a virus. Now, we won't get into the mask wearing, and people are still having large gatherings. Reports were that airports were packed as people were flying for the weekend. We won't get into that. That's another conversation for another day. But what we will talk about is how our government is failing us. Democrats and Republicans alike. They're failing us. We didn't have to be at nearing 260,000 deaths. We didn't have to be at over 12 million cases. We didn't have to be at this point. But because we have people on both sides of the aisle who are not doing their jobs. Our tax dollars pay your salary. You're not doing your job, and we as Americans, we have to vote people in and out of office. If they're not doing their job, we have to vote them out of office. And if they're doing their job, we have to give them more time to continue to do more. Imagine what it would have been like when 9/11, of course, the day that will live in infamy. It's hard to believe we're coming up on 20 years. We're less than a year from 20 years of that happening. I remember where I was when that happened. But imagine when those terrorists flew those planes, 2 in the World Trade Center in New York, one in the Pentagon in Virginia, and the other one in Shanksville, PA, many believe, was headed to D.C., whether to the Capitol or the Capitol building or the White House. Imagine how we would have felt if after we were attacked. I remember that United States, we came together. We trusted our government to go with intelligence to go and find the perpetrators and to bring them to justice. We trusted them to do that, and they did. Now, there may have been a war along the way that shouldn't have happened or whatever. We won't talk about that. However, we determined that they were a part of Al Qaeda's network under Osama bin Laden, which we have found him and we have removed him, from the earth. But imagine what would have been like if we were divided then, when we were attacked by a foreign enemy. Okay, COVID-19 is a foreign enemy. Wherever it came from, it is a foreign enemy that is attacking our country and tearing our country apart. Okay, but we are divided over something as simple as wearing a mask, but we won't talk about that. But our government is failing us. If stimulus had continued to flow, and if COVID had been taken seriously, back in late January, early February, when it was first known about COVID from the Chinese, then it's likely that we wouldn't be in the position we're in now. But because our government, for whatever reasons, that they lied and said COVID wasn't real, they didn't keep the stimulus flowing, they didn't, just everything that they did and did not do that they should have done to facilitate navigating us through this very difficult pandemic, we're in the shape that we're in now. I remember, how proud I felt as an American when George W. Bush, the then President George W. Bush, went to New York City, stood on that pile of rubble from a collapsed building. I think it may have been the World Trade Center tower, but several buildings collapsed that day. But he stood on a pile of rubble, put his arm around a firefighter, took a blowhorn and said that we hear you, talking about, the government here, we hear you, the world hears you. And pretty soon, the people who brought these buildings down will hear from us. I felt proud as an American that we were coming together to go after the people who attacked our country. Where is that now? Where's that sense of pride? Where's that sense of unity to attack each other over a virus that's killing us? This coronavirus doesn't care if you are a Democratic or Republican voter, if you're an independent voter, they don't care. But where's our unity? And where's our government? Okay, our government's playing golf. Our government officials are in their lavish homes, not being able to relate to the plight of the everyday American family. That just should not be the case. That should not be the case. As food lines, I'm saying with Thanksgiving, just a few days away, I'm saying the food lines are longer than ever before. And our government they're asleep at the wheel. We're supposed to trust our government to do what's right by us. After all, it's our tax dollars that pay their salary. It's our tax dollars. When we go to work, our federal tax dollars is what enables our government to be able to. So why do we have to fight with our government to do what's right by us, to spend the money that from our tax dollars? Why should we have to fight them to do what's right? That's not right. We can do better. We have to. Again, trust is important, and that trust that we now have in our government is kind of broken. And hopefully with a new administration coming in, here soon, and just under 2 months, we can get some things turned around, and we can, and with these vaccines, and we can get people the help they need with stimulus. We can get PPE to healthcare workers on the front line. We should not be running short on PPE at this point. That shouldn't happen. We trust our government to do what's right and to protect us. Government officials, we need for you to protect us and do what is right. Do what's right. Remember, trust is vital in a relationship. It's the foundation of any relationship. If there is no trust, there can be no healthy relationship. I'm going to issue a challenge to everyone that hears this broadcast. With Thanksgiving coming, this is for me as well. My daughters and I, we're going to feed the homeless Thursday morning. I'm going to issue a challenge that during this holiday season, and not just for the holidays, but even beyond holidays, to go and feed the homeless. Go and do something that will be a blessing to someone else. Remember, no matter how bad you think your life might be, there's someone that would trade places with you in a heartbeat. So I'm going to issue that challenge to myself and also to all of you. So as we move to the conclusion here and to how would you feel part of the show. Remember, this is the how would you feel humanity part of the show. Here's the how would you feel question today, and it is, how would you feel if someone you trust with your everything let you down in your most serious time of need? Let me read that again. How would you feel if someone you trust with your everything let you down in your most serious time of need? Take a moment and think about that. I can think about a time like that when someone who I was really counting on let me down, and how much that hurt me. And the relationship was never the same with that person. And so think about that. Remember a time with a family member who's like a brother to me, and something happened, and the trust was broken, and we didn't speak for a while, and he ended up passing away. And I'm thankful that I had a chance to reconnect with him, and we can forgive each other, and we can love one each other, but the relationship was never the same. Remember, trust takes a long time to build, but just a few moments for it to come tumbling down. Remember, trust is important. It is vital. Trust is indeed essential to the health of any relationship. So we thank you again for joining us today. Our website, again, is politicstalk.com. Email, I can be reached at eric@politicstalk.com. Please go to social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Click share, like, follow, comment. We want your comments. We want your questions. Please send us your information to us, and send us out to some of your friends and family, and tell them about us. We're open to suggestions on how we can make the show better. We will be moving to an interactive format in the near future, where we will have callers calling in, where we will be debating the sports topics. So we really want this to have like a radio type feel. So that'll be coming in the future. So stay tuned for that. But with Thanksgiving coming, let's look for opportunities to safely spend time with our families, social distance, virtually, what have you, so we can be around to enjoy each other next year. Once we bring this pandemic under control. So we thank you for joining. Again, there'll be no blog this Thursday. Our next show will be this Wednesday, November 25th. From 7 to about 7:40. So we look forward to talking to you again then. Remember, let's take care of each other. Let's love each other. Let's do right by each other. Y'all have a good night.